I'm Melissa Shanahan, and this is the Velocity Work Podcast, episode number 95. This podcast is for attorneys who are running their own firms. We explore tactics, tools, and stories related to pushing past simply lawyering well and into building a successful firm. Working in your firm and working on your business are two very different things. This podcast focuses on the latter. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Velocity Work Podcast. Very excited that you're here. I want to say that today's topic means a lot to me. I can see where some of you feel like maybe this is a fluffy topic, and I think most of you listening to this probably need to hear it. And I'm sure that all of you are on a different spectrum when it comes to what we're going to talk about today. So I don't think that all of you suck at this. I just want to make sure that it is on your radar and that you're not getting sucked into a life, like you're taking full responsibility for how you spend your time. So this week's topic is all about how you spend your weekends. Really, what I mean is how you spend your free time. And there's a couple of things that I want to talk about here. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I continuously have conversations with clients that are doing such a good job in so many ways. Like they're really making such progress, but somehow their leisure time is what gets cut out. And it's most of the time, it's not intentional. So what I mean by that is, people are practicing their Monday map, they are planning their week, and they are honoring their plan. They are following that process. And we all know that it's a practice. There is no perfection with it. It is a practice. And eventually you will get yourself to a place where there's a lot of integrity and you trust yourself well enough to know that once it's on your calendar, it's as good as done. That does happen. And if you feel like it doesn't and you feel like that's impossible, I'm telling you, I promise you, keep practicing because you will get yourself there. But even those that schedule their work week like a pro and they honor their plan, they aren't deliberate about, and what there's room for improvement on is scheduling your free time, your personal time, your leisure time, the time where you can rejuvenate so that you can go all in when you're supposed to go all in. A lot of times people have the best of intentions and they don't schedule anything for the weekend. They just leave it like a wide open book, but then they end up filling it with some work stuff. It's not intentional, like, okay, they don't have from 2 to 3, I'm going to work on this matter, or I'm going to work on this project that's on the business work. It bleeds into the weekend. And what I want to offer is that when you do that, when you are unintentional with your free time and you just kind of fall into work, or you don't really take advantage of the free time to rejuvenate, you aren't intentional with your free time, you will get to a place where you burn out much more quickly than someone who honors their free time and actually does take space to rejuvenate. When I'm talking about this, I can hear people freaking out because I talk to people who are like, well, I have to do things on the weekend. I have to catch up. But then be intentional about it. Carve out space. If you really are in that spot where that is a choice you are going to make, is to work some on the weekends, that is your call. But you have to schedule it. You don't let things just bleed in or just have this weird overflow space where you're supposed to get things done and it's not actually scheduled. You aren't intentional with your time. Because what happens is you'll hit the weekend and it'll be rolling around your brain. I need to get to this. I need to get to this. I need to get to this. And eventually maybe you do or maybe you don't. Either way, it doesn't matter. It has taken up brain space and it hasn't allowed you to rejuvenate. When your brain is taken up with something and you're letting things roll around in your brain during your quote unquote free time, it isn't free. You are a prisoner to what's happening in your brain. Real free time is more about what's happening for your brain and your body, but your brain is freed up. Your brain is not attached to all the things that have to be done. It is a space where you can get in the zone with something that's nothing to do with work. That's rejuvenation time. And that looks different for everyone. It's like activities that end up providing more energy to you than depleting you. And That's what's important to actually use your free time for. The reason I'm doing this is because there's so many of you out there that you take the weekend, but you don't really take the weekend. You don't schedule anything for the weekend, but there's a lot weighing on you, and that you have these intentions to get a lot of stuff done, and you may or may not do it, but it doesn't matter. It just weighed on you. That's not rejuvenating. What I think is rejuvenating, if you are going to work, if you have to work, if that's what you're saying you have to do, then schedule the exact thing that you're going to do and the time you're going to do it, show up, do it, and then you're done. Then your brain can be freed up after that, and you can just keep on having your own leisure time. And maybe that means spending time with your family. Maybe that means reading a book. Maybe that means going for a walk. Maybe that means meditating. Maybe it means going for a swim. Maybe it means a yoga class. Maybe it means going to the spa. Maybe it means sitting down with your journal. Maybe it means just being fully present with your kids. I don't know what it means for you, but whatever it means for you, be intentional with the free time that you have. How do you want to use it? How are you going to intentionally use it to rejuvenate so that you're good to go when you're supposed to be on, for real on? I don't want to see you guys run yourselves into the ground. And I don't want you to lie to yourself and tell yourself that you don't have an option, that you have to work on the weekend, and then that's good enough. That's not good enough. Be intentional. And if you want your weekend to be free time, carve it out and decide, what does that look like? And show up for your free time. Not all free time is rejuvenating. So that's why I want you to think about this rejuvenation piece. You know, there's a lot of calendaring experts out there that will say free time goes first. And I do agree with that. Free time, personal time goes first in your calendar, and then the work. And I teach that in Monday Map. I agree with all of that. But if you have things that are important to you, or things that you think will really nourish you or rejuvenate you, then that stuff should be scheduled so that you are sure to show up for that. You have to be intentional, because when you go into the weekend, and we've all done this, you head into a weekend and it's like, ugh, you just let go. Like, if there's a visual in my head, you may not physically do this, but mentally it's like you just sink into the couch, meaning you just sink away from the work, you sink away from all the things, and you don't really spend the time intentionally. And so it's not really rejuvenating. It's like you checked out, or you became a bit of a vegetable for a period of time, but then you got to be on again, and there's no real rejuvenation there. So what I want to offer is just be intentional with how you spend your free time. If it means, you know, I'm a parent now, and many of you listening to this are parents, and we all know that weekends, if you have kids at home, are not necessarily rejuvenating. It depends. I think it depends on the age, and it depends on the circumstances. But if that is rejuvenating for you, then plug in. If there's something missing from that and you need some space to yourself, which I think we all do need, then it's important to carve out time. How are you going to make time for that? Does it mean that you wake up a little earlier to have some quiet space before the house wakes up on the weekends? Does it mean that you arrange with your significant other or your spouse to be able to watch the kids for 1 hour on their own while you go be really intentional? Maybe that's meditate, maybe it's go for a walk, maybe it's write in your journal, and maybe it's not just an hour, right? But how can you set yourself up to really experience free time in a way that serves you? That's what I notice, is that people spend their free time not in ways that serves them. It's like it slowly detracts from their energy, and therefore they don't have to give what they really want to give when it's time to get to work. So how you spend your free time is important. And I'm putting an emphasis on the weekends because I think for most people listening, that's one of the biggest opportunities to really take space and to rejuvenate. Also, whatever your free time is, I want you to think about the evenings. Be intentional with the free time that you're carving out there. I know that this is not a cakewalk. I know that it can be very difficult to put up boundaries for yourself to abide by. But you have to play the long game here. You cannot just hustle and be in chaos and let your work bleed into your life and expect to build really what you want to build. That is not what this is about. You have to start with the end in mind. And that does not mean at the cost of you. If that is kind of what you believe, then you need to check yourself because it isn't true. And if you go out into the world and you find evidence for people who built what they wanted to build, not at the cost of them, you will find evidence of that. I work with people all the time that are doing it. If you want to go out in the world and find evidence for people who suffered and burned out and neglected things that were real important to them in their lives, and so essentially built what they built at the cost of them, you will find that too. But you don't have to be in that camp. So just make sure that you're not buying into some story that this is just the way it has to be, that work has to bleed into everything. It's not true. So when you are doing your Monday map, when you are planning your week, a part of the Monday map should be, where am I giving myself time and space for leisure and rejuvenation? With the free time that I have or that I want to have, like let's just say the whole weekend, you want the whole weekend off. How are you going to spend your weekend? If you are saying, I'm going to stop work at 4, I'm done working till 7 p.m., I'm going to stop work at 4, what are you going to do after 4? And the reason I'm telling you to think ahead like this is because you will go back to default if you don't plan otherwise. I talked to one client before who just said, I'm tired of working late. I'm going to get this stuff done at 4. She did it. She went home and her family isn't used to her being home at 4. So, her kids were off doing their thing. Her husband was off doing his thing. And she was kind of sitting there like, what am I supposed to do with myself? So she started working again. That's what I mean. Default, you kind of created a rut for yourself. And in order to get out of the rut, you're going to be very intentional and very deliberate with your planning. And people think, well, I don't want to plan my free time. It's my leisure time. Well, that's fine. If you want to put leisure time on your calendar and not schedule actual activities, but when it's time for leisure time, you just have to know what's off limits. And if that means that you don't even know what to do with yourself and you have to sit and just be bored for a minute and be silent with your own thoughts, then sit and be bored and be silent with your own thoughts. But don't go back to work. Don't allow work to take up mental space. That's not the time for it. This is your leisure time. So I just want to encourage everyone listening to this. If you are in a space where when you take personal time, you actually don't take it at 100%. You let other things bleed into it and rob that leisure or the rejuvenation. Then I highly encourage that you get more deliberate and that you start having boundaries in place for yourself, and you know what you're going to do when it comes time to experience that leisure time and experience the free time. Plan how you're going to experience it. You know what activities will rejuvenate you. So plan those activities in those spaces. Don't just leave it wide open, because then that's when you won't be intentional and you'll let things bleed in as you normally do. It's kind of like default taking over. And if you want to set a new path, you're going to have to really make sure that you're making an effort to think this through and create a realistic plan that allows you to honor all the things that are important to you, not just work. The other thing, just to give another example, I was just talking to a private client and he is so good at planning his time. He's so good with Monday Map. And so he has a lot of free time on the weekends with his kids and he's present. He's an amazing father, but he doesn't actually have space for himself to rejuvenate. There's no alone time. He has no alone time in his life. And so we talked about he has to build that in, because what's happening is that it feels like even though he's being so intentional with his time and he's honoring it, he's feeling exhausted. And that's because there's no space for him to rejuvenate as a human so that he can be the best version of himself for his family and for his firm. So rejuvenation time is very important. If you have free time on your calendar, but you don't have anything on your calendar that actually rejuvenates you, you don't take part in activities that rejuvenate you, it is time to start to move that direction. And it doesn't have to be a huge amount of time either. If you have it to give, that's great. If you feel like, oh my God, I don't have any space to give, start with 30 minutes to an hour of real rejuvenation where you can drop into an activity that's going to allow you to fully relax and rejuvenate. And I recommend starting with an hour. If you don't have 1 hour in an entire week that you can find to spend an activity to really rejuvenate you, you got bigger problems. You definitely can find that. You 100% can find that. Don't tell yourself you can't. Where can you find it? How can you communicate with those around you so that you can actually get that space for yourself? But don't not take it. You are growing your law firm not at the cost of you. That is not what this is about. And you can accomplish some amazing things, not at the cost of you. Don't buy into a story that this is the way it has to be. That's the hustle and this intensity that you can't escape from. It's just the way it is. If you are telling yourself that, you need to have a different narrative. You can find it. You can do it. Make sure it's a part of your Monday map. Schedule it in. And whatever you do, be intentional with your free time. How do you want to spend your free time? And how can you make sure that rejuvenation is a part of it? All right, everybody. Good food for thought this week. Make sure to include this in your Monday map. I will see you here next Tuesday. Hey there. If you enjoyed this podcast, I highly recommend you come and check out Mastery Group. It is where owner attorneys come together to study this material, apply it, and thus create really big results for their firm and for their life. So come on over, velocitywork.com/join to get more information and get started. Show notes from this episode can be found at velocitywork.com/podcast.